You're listening to the Third Degree Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Mandy Petrie and Brian J. Hatcher.
Greetings, friends, and welcome once again to the Third Degree Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and sitting next to me, ready to go down the rabbit hole once more, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
So let's talk about analog.
Analog, like the clock.
Yes, going analog. Now, I have on more than one occasion talked about this idea of unplugging, going analog, having, as the kids say, those moments where you're touching grass.
Yeah, at least once a year you go dark on social media.
Yeah, you could call it a detox, or depending on how you do it, it's just getting away from being so dependent upon your phone and social media. I've mentioned that a few times and talked about it, and I use the term analog, going analog. And I've discovered recently that this has become a trend on TikTok about going analog, and they use that term, going analog. I'm not bringing that up because I'm saying, hey, all of y'all, I did that first, so all of you owe me a nickel every time you use that. What I found interesting is I've gone down a few rabbit holes, surprise, surprise, about this idea of going analog and the videos that people have done on TikTok.
So how are they video themselves? Are they using like 8mm? What are they doing? How are they doing that?
Well, that's a very good question. And I did want to talk about this today because, hey, kids, you're doing this wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
A bit of a joke, but I want to give you an idea of what online analog looks like and why it's kind of strange to me. There's an awful lot of talk about coming up with hobbies, simple hobbies. A really popular one is coloring books.
Yeah.
There are so many videos of people coloring in coloring books and buying markers and coloring. And that, as far as I know, is still a trend, but apparently it was like a massive trend on TikTok where people would film themselves coloring in their coloring books, and they would show pictures in their coloring books after they were done. A couple of things about this I find very interesting. The first is there's some people that take their coloring really seriously. Because you look at what they've done. I mean, they're doing shading.
Yeah.
They're doing effects where there's a window in the picture, and so they use like a light blue to color the areas that the sunlight isn't coming in, so that when they color their coloring book, it's like the light's coming in. That's the brighter part of the picture. They're very, very creative with their coloring. And it's a lot more than just your crayons and all that, because they're using their markers and they're blending and shading, and people take this stuff very, very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
People are very proud to show their pictures.
They should be, yeah.
Yeah, because they put a lot of work into it. And they also put a lot of money into it, because the other videos that you see based off of coloring are coloring hauls.
What you went to the store and bought and show whatever you bought.
Yeah, so there are a ton of these coloring book haul videos that you see on YouTube and TikTok. What's weird about this for me is that you look at the haul videos and then you look at how much a lot of this stuff costs. Wow, this doesn't strike me as a simple hobby. Because no lie, I've seen videos where somebody is showing off their collection of markers that they use to color, and they've got like $600 worth of markers that they've bought in one shot. And there are particular coloring books that you buy for coloring that everyone has, so that, again, you're coloring the same pictures so you can compare and contrast. And they're showing off how much money that they've spent on coloring. And suddenly, this doesn't feel like a fun hobby anymore. But they do this with a lot of hobbies, apparently, like reading books. Well, that sounds like a fun hobby. But then you have your book hauls, and there are books out there. They have the end papers are paint sprayed, and so they have all these designs, and they put out all these different patterns, and then you have a series of books, and you put them all together, and you can see that the end papers make a picture.
Absolutely, yeah.
And So you have all these haul videos of people showing off all the books
Special
that they bought.
editions, yes.
Yeah, they're showing off all the books that they bought, and they put them spine first into the bookshelves so you can see all the end papers, and you see the pictures, and you see all those designs, and it's, wow, that looks really cool. But, okay, who's reading them then? Well, there are some videos out there of people who are reading the books.
You read your digital copy.
Yeah, well, but then it's like, well, the goal is to read 100 books in a year. That's only like 2 books a week. And so now that's become a contest. And there are videos explaining, well, if you're going to do the 50 books in a year contest, here are some books that are short so that you don't get caught too far behind. Some books that you can get through really quickly so that you can stay on track. Which again, it's like, okay, now it's a competition. Now it's about spending a whole bunch of money. Now it's about doing hauls, showing off how many books you bought in one shot.
And now the best part about this, Brian, is this new? What's a ferroequinologist?
Tell me.
It's a train collector. Mandy Patinkin is a ferroequinologist.
He collects
model trains, yes. Yeah. Have you ever seen a movie called People Talk?
That I haven't.
Yes, it's a movie with Cary Grant in it. It's an old movie. And I had seen it before, and it's something I had never thought about. And then I saw someone making a video on it and said, if you ever wanted to feel seen as someone with autism, watch this movie. Because Cary Grant and all of his friends are in the top of a penthouse playing with their model trains. And he goes to a board meeting with all of these rich people, and he sits at the very end of this big, huge table, not near anyone. And they say, why don't you come down here? And he's like, I want to be down here away from people. And he's lining up his candy. And it is so fantastic, Brian. And it's a Cary Grant movie called People Talk. So all these things that are happening, that we're just seeing it. We're giving the people platforms. But they've always had stamp collectors, model trains, and shot glasses, and pocket knives, and they all have collectors. You know, your hobby becomes this kind of obsession. Fantasy football players? Ooh, I mean, we know how fierce that gets.
Oh, for sure.
You know, so this isn't something that's anything new. We're just seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, I think one of the huge differences between what you talk about with collectors and what we're seeing online is that there is this performative aspect to the hobby. It may be somebody's passion, but very often it's a lot of people who are jumping onto an algorithm bandwagon because it's popular, and the algorithm really is into coloring right now, so people are getting into coloring. Once that drops off, then it's off to the next thing. And if you love trains and you want to collect them, that's awesome. But I think there's a difference between doing that and, well, that's the popular trend on TikTok this month, or this is what they're doing on Instagram. And so you get into it, you spend a bunch of money, you make a lot of videos, they get popular, but then the next thing comes along. I'm saying this not because I'm like, well, you guys shouldn't do that. But I did find that interesting, that hobbies used to be something that people enjoyed. And maybe if this was something you enjoyed on your own, maybe you had a few friends that were into this, but there wasn't this performative nature where you're interested enough that you will do it while you have your camera phone pointed at you. But it's not something that you're really all that into once you post the video. And I think it defeats the purpose of, to my mind, what makes a good hobby, which is it's something that you enjoy, but it's also very low stakes. And I think that once a hobby becomes performative, it's no longer low to no stakes, because now you're showing everybody. And if you want to take up guitar as a hobby, that's pretty cool if you're sitting in your room learning chords, but you're not really going to be all that good at it, but nobody's watching you. If you're posting that stuff on Instagram, people are seeing you. And you don't really have the opportunity to pick up an interesting skill because, again, you have to be entertaining from the get-go. And that makes it very difficult when you're being performative. But again, it's also performative in the aspect of look how much money I can afford to spend on something. I have seen these videos of people who have done coloring book hauls. They show their coloring books, they show all their markers, and then after that, they've moved to something else. You don't see any videos of them actually coloring anything, or it's just whatever's new. So it's like they're just constantly doing haul videos of whatever the popular hobby is at the time, but they never really engage in the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, I'm not kink shaming your hobby, but at the same time, if you're going to spend that kind of money, have some fun doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Something else that I've noticed about these hobbies that I feel like really puts the kibosh on really enjoying a hobby is there is this culture of side hustles, this idea that you do stuff on your off time.
To make money.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Grind culture is like a mess.
MLMs. Ugh.
Yeah. So there's all this grind culture. Your hobbies need to be making you money. And so this idea of, I need to come up with something that I can turn into a side hustle. Well, hobbies are supposed to be fun, especially for me. I can tell you where this really starts to bother me, and that's in gaming culture. I love playing board games. I love playing card games. I love playing TTRPGs, obviously. I don't do any live plays. I'm not putting it online, but some people do. And believe me, I'm not upset with Critical Role making a buck or two. Where I have the problem, especially when it comes to card games like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, once you start turning it into a side hustle, then it becomes a problem, because then you have these people who are buying cards not because they're going to play the game, but because they're going to flip them.
Yeah.
And you have people who are showing up at Target and they're buying every box of a new Pokemon set that comes out, every box that's on the shelf. And they send the clerks back to get everything that they've got in the warehouse. And they buy all of them. And then some kid shows up and it's like, I want to buy some Pokemon cards. And this guy is like, yeah, for 3 to 4 times what the retail is for it, I'll sell you Pokemon cards. It had gotten so bad that Target now has a policy that limits people on how many boxes they can buy.
Yeah.
Like 1 to 2 boxes at the most. And you see flippers online getting so upset about that. And they're fuming and angry. Again, you're ruining something for people who want to buy cards and open packs and put decks together and play their
Star Wars toys and
yeah. There's nothing wrong with making money off of a hobby, but once you get into a space and you're wrecking that space because you're just trying to buy up everything so you can flip it, well, I hate that so much. I hate that. Yeah, and I don't play Pokemon.
You're a scalper.
It's the worst of the worst, man. It's like, I don't play Pokemon. I don't really play Magic the Gathering anymore, but this idea of people coming into a hobby because they're like, hey, there's a buck to be made here. And they pull resources away from people who really want to enjoy the hobby. These people need to be boiled in their own snot. Okay, seriously. But you see a lot of that. And like I said, Target, they have decided to limit sales so that everyone can get an opportunity to buy boxes. And here's the other thing that they do, is that they made it a policy. If you buy a box or two of Pokemon cards, they have to break the seal on them. They have to take the plastic and they break the seal on the boxes, which means that it absolutely ruins the resaleability of these boxes, which, again, scalpers freaked out when they started doing that.
Yep.
Fortunately, Target figured out, hey, we know what's going on here. This is wrecking this for everybody else. Obviously, if you allow this to continue to happen, you're going to bottom out the market because people are not going to be able to get cards. And once the market's tanked, these scalpers are going to move to something else. I mean, obviously, when they realized that they weren't going to be able to get the money that they wanted to off of these cards, they have been going to something else. But again, people wanting to get into a hobby and enjoy it, but then you have these other people ruining it for you. That's not what hobbies are for. It's not what going analog is about. It's not about creating a large collection of something to show off to other people. And not that I don't have large collections. I mean, you're looking over my shoulder right now. You see a lot of vinyl albums. I have a large collection of vinyls. I enjoy listening to them. And I have to admit that there were times during the pandemic that I would make TikTok videos of a particular album I was listening to that day. But I didn't want to make this into, wow, look how much money I have. Look how many vinyl albums I can buy. Look how cool I am and how retro I am. And that certainly wasn't my goal. But again, it seems to me that's where a lot of this analog culture had started going. And like you say, how are you going offline if you're filming videos of yourself going offline?
Yeah.
But we are really starting to get into this idea of people are like, I want to get rid of my iPhone and get a flip phone, which they're doing. And you can go to your AT&T and go, yeah, I'm done with this iPhone. Give me a flip phone. And they can give you a flip phone. They have them. They have the old school flip phones.
Okay.
So people are doing that. And then they're posting videos of themselves with their flip phones on TikTok. And I'm like, what did you film that with? Do you
I guess
have
their iPad, maybe?
Maybe so.
Okay.
Maybe so. Or they kept their phone and they're like, well, I do still need to have my phone to record my videos.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like going analog to the degree of, hey, I want to detox. I want to spend time with my friends instead of us all looking into our phones. I want to go to a concert and enjoy the concert and not look at a live performance through the screen of a phone I'm holding up. That's one thing. But when it becomes performative and it becomes something that you're doing because it's a trend and it's just about, hey, look how cool I am. I know what the latest hobby trend is. And there are some people who are into this who are very, very sincere. I have seen videos of what Sierra Campbell calls analog bags. The point of the analog bags are you can take all your hobbies and you stick it in a bag. And then that turned into haul videos. And then the complaint from Sierra became, hey, wait a minute, analog bags aren't meant to be hauls, and they're not meant to be these huge bags full of all this different stuff. An analog bag is supposed to be small enough that you'll carry it where you would normally carry your phone. If it's too big to haul around, you're not going to take it with you. It defeats the purpose of having the bag.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what brought me down this rabbit hole, because something always does, is I started seeing a bunch of videos in my feed about how TikTok is ruining hobbies. There are tons of people complaining about them, about this idea of doing performative hobbies to show that you're trendy and you have a lot of money to spend and not really being interested in the hobby and moving on to the next thing once that becomes popular. And I found it ironic because everybody who was having a problem with this was complaining online. They'd made videos about it. So
That's your hobby. Your hobby is complaining.
well, for some people, yeah, it is. Not that they weren't making good points about all of it, but we have reached a point where the digital age has engulfed us to such a degree that our opinions and our lives are really only valuable to the degree that we can put it online and get people to watch it and maybe even donate to our Patreon for us to keep doing it. And once again, old man yelling at clouds, but I know who I am. At the same time, there's just something wonderful about finding something that you enjoy doing just for the sake of doing it. Finding some other people in real life who enjoy the same thing and you can enjoy it together. The idea of not being able to separate that from having some sort of a digital display, it's troubling to me. One of the joys of being a collector or having a hobby or a craft that you enjoy is that at the end of the day, you have something physical that you can say, this is something that I enjoy, or this is something that I have made with my own two hands. Here's something that I have that didn't exist in the world until I brought it into existence. And that's awesome. But this idea of what am I going to put on Instagram that people are going to be interested in? what can I get involved in that I can afford to do, that I can make some interesting content around, that I can ride this train, even if it's a toy train or a model train. What can I do to get the algorithm to put my videos out? And then how do I keep track of stuff so that I know when I need to drop this and go to the next thing? I don't see a lot of joy or value in that. And I do feel like that really does defeat the purpose of going analog. The point of going analog is turning off your phone, turning off all the noise, and doing something, doing anything with real live people. And with that said, you ready to go up to AT&T with me and we can trade in our iPhones?
Maybe we will. Maybe we won't.
Maybe we won't. But with that said, we come to the end of this episode. And hopefully we gave you something to think about. And until next time, just to remind you, life is lived one moment and 1 degree at a time. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Third Degree Podcast. Please remember, the opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organizations. The content provided is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Any advice shared during the show should not be considered medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional for medical concerns or before making any health-related decisions. The Third Degree Podcast is a Hanging J production.